Hello, today we're going to be going over some of the new sample questions for the 9th grade SHSAT. These are from the 2023 SHSAT Student Handbook. It's made by the NYC DOE, and the link to that will be in the description of this video. So let's get started. With number 1, it says that 0.44 is equal to x over 25. We want to find the value of x. So pretty much what we want to do here is get x on its own. Right now it's being divided by 25. So to get x on its own, we're going to have to multiply this side by 25 over 1. Whatever we do on one side, we have to do to the other side. So now we've multiplied this side by 25 over 1. If we look here, our two 25s cancel out, and we're left with x over 1 is equal to 25 times 0.44. For the sake of time, I have a calculator here. And we know that 0.44 times 25 is equal to 11. So we're left with 11 is equal to x. So the value of x is 11. Moving on, it says that the two equations, y equals 6x minus 5 and y equals negative 3 plus 7, are represented as lines on the graph. What is the y value of the point of intersection? So I think it's easiest to understand what a point of intersection is. So pretty much what they gave us is the equation of two lines, right? Because it's y equals mx plus b. So these are two different lines, and let's just say for the sake of this problem they look like this, right? Pretty much the point of intersection, this is the point of intersection. And the important thing to note that on the point of intersection, the two lines are going to have the same x value and they're going to have the same y value. So the x value of this graph is going to equal the x value of this graph, and the y value of this graph is going to equal to the y value of this graph. Now what that means in our question is it's saying that when these two lines intersect, we want to find what the y value is. So we just said that a point of intersection will have the same y value, and the equation's already given to us in terms of y. We know that they intersect, so they'll have the same y value. So the easiest way to solve this problem will just to set them equal to each other. So I'm going to just write it up here. We have 6x minus 5 is equal to negative 3x plus 7. Because at the point of intersection, they'll have the same y value, so they'll be equal to each other. Now it's just a matter of solving for x, so we'll add 5 on both sides. We get 6x is equal to negative 3x plus 12. We add 3x on both sides, we get 9x is equal to 12. We got x is equal to 12 over 9. Now be careful, it's asking us for the y value. So now what we have to do is plug in 12 over 9 for an x value in one of the equations. So I'll go do that real quick. So let's just do it for this equation. We'll have 6 times 12 over 9 minus 5 is equal to y. If we quickly solve for that, 6 over 1 times 12 over 9 minus 5, that's going to give us 3. So our y value is going to be 3. So for intersection problems again, all you have to do is set the two equations equal to each other, solve for the x value, and then plug it into the y. Next question, number 3. Y is equal to 2x minus 4 is graphed. The line of the graph travels through the point 0, 4 and 12, y. What is the value of y in the point 12, y? Cool. So we're already given the equation to the graph. And that's a really important part of this question because it's asking us, we're going to have to solve for the y value when x is 12. And if we look at our graph here, it already tells us what the y value is based on the x value. It's a formula. So the only thing we have to do to solve this problem is just to plug in 12 for x and then find what our y value gets us. So let's plug this in. Y is equal to 2 times 12 minus 4. 2 times 12 is 24, and 24 minus 4 is 20. So the y value is going to be 20. That's all you have to do for this problem. Number 4 asks, which number has a value that is located between 7 and 9 on the number line? Now note that for this test you don't have a calculator, so obviously you're not going to be able to calculate what radical 67 is. So there is one way that you can avoid radicals on this test, and that's simply squaring. Squaring immediately gets rid of the radicals. So instead of having to figure out what radical 37 is, if you just square it, you get 37. 37 is a lot easier to deal with. So the way I would think of this is I would square every single value here, including our 7 and our 8. So, because think about it this way. If we're trying to look for a number, let's say we're trying to look for a number, right? That's between 7 and 8. It doesn't matter if that number is squared or square rooted. That number is still going to fall between 7 and 8 no matter what you do to it, as long as you do the same thing to the 7 and 8 or the numbers that it's in between. It sounds a bit confusing, but when you do it on paper, it's a lot easier. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to square every single value so that we're working with numbers that we actually know the true value of. So we're going to square 7, we're going to square 8. And of course, we're going to draw a number line. So 7 squared is 49, and 8 squared is 64, right? So here, of course, 37 squared is 37, 47 squared is 47, 57 squared is 57, and 67 squared is 67. So now we're looking at a number here, right, that fits between 49 and 64. So which are these numbers? There can't be 37, can't be 49, can't be 67, that's too big, so it has to be G 57. Right, so 57 fits between here. Now look at what we can do. We can now square root this entire thing and get a new number line. Boom, and that's exactly the same thing. That's how I would solve this problem. That's how you get G, the right answer. Number 5 says, in the line above, segment K is parallel to line M is parallel to line K. Straight line P intersects both K and M, and the measure of angle T is 47. What is the measure of angle J? So if you look at it, if you notice one thing, you should notice these two lines are parallel, which means that this angle and this angle are the same, and that means that this angle and this angle are the same, right? Sorry, let me rephrase that because that sounded a bit confusing. If this is T, we know that this is T. If this is T, we know that this is T. So looking at this, right? Now that we've rewritten it, we know that T plus J is equal to 180 degrees, right? Because if we look at, because we just rewrote this as T, and we know that the degree of a flat line is 180 degrees. And if we remember our rules of parallel lines and angles of parallel lines, we know that because T is a vertical angle, T is also going to be here, and T plus J is going to have to equal 180. So you just substitute values. 47 plus J is equal to 180. And that means that J is equal to 133 degrees. Number 6, it asks which one of these numbers is irrational. So if we're looking for, if it's irrational, we're looking for a non-terminating, non-repeating number. So what this means is our number is going to go on forever and it's not going to follow any pattern. So looking at choice E, we know that 0.7 bar. What that bar means is that this number is equal to 0.7777 and it goes on forever being 7. That is repeating because it's 7 repeating forever, so it can't be that. If we look here, radical 9, well, radical 9 is equal to 3 because 3 squared is 9. And 3 terminates right here. So automatically away from there. 9 over 7 looks kind of tempting because oh, what if it divides? What if it doesn't divide? But remember that any number that can be expressed as a fraction with real numbers on the denominator and numerator is rational, right? So this cannot be irrational because the denominator is 9, which is rational, and the denominator is 7, which is rational. So if both the numerator and the denominator are rational, then the fraction cannot be irrational. And then that leaves us with radical 7. Obviously, you don't have a calculator, but because we were able to rule out E, F, and G, H is our best bet. And radical 7 is non-terminating and non-repeating if you plug it into a calculator. Number 7 says that triangles JKL and J prime K prime L prime are congruent triangles. Just means that they're equal. Which two transformations were used to transform JKL into J prime K prime L prime? The way I did this was I tried to just do it myself, how I would transform this into that. So the way I would do this is first I would reflect it over the y-axis, and that would give me an image kind of like this, where this is J, this is L, and this is K, right? And next what I would have to do is I would have to kind of rotate it this way, because I would have to bring J to this point, L to this point, K to this point. So it's I'm just kind of flipping it once on its side. And what that's called is a 90-degree counterclockwise rotation. So just to review, we reflected it over the y-axis to get this, and then we flipped it one time to get that. And that's answer choice D, a reflection across the y-axis and then a counterclockwise rotation of 90 degrees about its center. Number 8, a scatter plot shows a set of data. Which equation represents the most accurate line of best fit for the data shown? So pretty much what a line of best fit is, it's a line that kind of shows a trend in data. And what that means is whenever you have a bunch of data points, your line of best fit, or a good line of best fit, is going to have to go through all data points. Not go through, but it's going to have an equal number of data points on top and on bottom. So the whole point of our line of best fit is we want our line to have an equal amount of dots on top and on bottom. So let's just sketch one out, right? If this were a line, a good line would be like this, because on this side we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5 dots above, and here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dots below. So that would be a good line of best fit, right? So obviously we can observe one thing, that this line of best fit has a positive slope because it's going left to right and up. So a positive slope, we can automatically eliminate choice E and choice G, because the negative x means that it is a negative slope and it goes like this, which is the opposite direction. Which leaves us with y equals x and y equals x plus 2. If you look at our graph right here, our graph kind of passes through the origin, which means that our y-intercept is 0. So our answer is probably going to have to be y is equal to x. But let's just plot out y equals x plus 2. If we had y equals x plus 2, our line would pretty much pass through 2, and that would be our line. And all our data points is beneath our line of best fit, which means that it's a bad line of best fit because there's no data above it. So it would have to be y is equal to x. Moving on to number 9. What is the point of intersection of the graphs y equals negative 4x plus 3 and y equals 2x plus 5? The whole reason why I went into depth about this in the first question, actually not the first question, the second question, because this is a very popular topic on the 9th grade SHSAT. Just remember that for intersection, they have the same y value, they have the same x value, and we're already in terms of y, so we just set the problems equal to each other. So you have a negative x plus 3 is equal to 2x plus 5. We're just solving for x and combining like terms. We're left with 3. These two cancel out. Add 4 on both sides. 3 is equal to 6x plus 5. Then you subtract 5 on both sides. you're left with negative 2 is equal to 6x. Divide by negative 2 on both sides, you get x is equal to negative. Oh, my bad. Divide by 6 on both sides, you get x is equal to negative 2 over 6, or negative 1/3. Remember, that's our x value, so we can look here and we could automatically eliminate c and d because they say our x is 1 over 3, not negative 1 over 3. So now what we're left with is, we know our x value, we just need to solve for a y value, and the easiest way to do that is just to plug in our x value into our graph, or into one of the equations. I'm just going to do the top equation. So I'm going to have y is equal to negative 4 times negative 1 over 3, which is our x value, plus 3. So here we have positive 4 over 3 plus 3. And what this is going to give us is, it's the same thing. This is the same thing as saying 1 and 1/3 plus 3, which is the same thing as saying 4 and 1/3. And that's going to be our answer. So just to sum up, for intersection questions, we set them equal to each other, and then we solve for x, and then we plug that x value in. Number 10. The table below represents a linear function. A second linear function is represented by the equation y equals 4x plus 3. Which statement comparing the rates of change of the functions is true? So another thing, good vocab, is rate of change. This is the same thing as saying slope, right? So it's pretty much asking us for the slope. So we know that the slope for this value is going to be 4. And since it gives us a table, we can easily calculate our slope. We know that our slope is equal to y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. So let's just do that real quick. We can do 30 minus 40 over 12 minus 24. And we get negative 10 over, negative 10 over 12 minus 24 is negative 12. So our slope is going to have to be 5 over 6, positive 5 over 6. So automatically the rate of change for this one is less. So let's see which choice reflects that. So this is saying that the rate of change for y equals 4x plus 3 is less. Well, that's wrong, because we know that 4 is greater than 6 over 5, right? This one's saying that the rate of change for y is equal to 4x plus 3 is less, so we can eliminate that. The rate of change for y is equal to 4x plus 3 is greater, because 4 is greater than 5 over 6. This is true, and is obviously going to be the right answer. So how many solutions are there to the equation the absolute value 4x plus 6 is equal to negative 2? The answer to this is going to be no solutions, because whenever an equation is written in absolute value can never be negative. For example, the absolute value of negative 2 can either be 2, can only be 2, right? The absolute value of 2 is going to be 2. Absolute value pretty much always gives you a non-negative answer. So for this to equal negative 2, despite being in absolute value, is impossible. And that means that there's no value of x that will make this true. Moving on. Number 12, the scatter plot shows data that researchers collected. Which statement correctly describes the data? Well, if we kind of use our eyes here, we know that it's clumped up around this area and this area. So obviously G is going to be the right answer because it has clustering. Clustering is the same thing as saying clumped up. The data have outliers. There are no outliers because they're all clumped up in two places. The data has a negative linear association. If I were to draw a line that going down, not even draw a line going down. There's no association at all. They just clump up in little points. As I increase my x, my y doesn't change because they're either 2 or they're either 5. So I hope that makes sense. Number 13, what is the length of x in this triangle? Notice we have a right angle, which means that we could use the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. So let's just set this as a, this as b. So here we have 8 squared plus 8 squared is equal to c squared. 64 plus 64 is equal to c. 128 is equal to c squared. C is equal to radical 128, and that's choice C. So 13, that is the final question of this sample section. So that's it. I hope my explanations were pretty accurate, or not, wrong choice of words, clear. Please let me know in the comments if there's any confusions. I plan to post more videos regularly. Once again, the link to this section, link to these questions will be in the description of this video. Have a nice day, and good luck with your SHSAT.